You know, Puffy's sons and my sons have been best friends since they were 6, 7 years old. I didn't make it happen and Puffy didn't make it happen. One night I was at my house and Puffy's son was over about like 9 o'clock. And I'm like, cuz, what time you going home? And he like, I'm spending the night. I'm like, did you tell your dad? He like, nah, my mom dropped me off. So Kim, rest in peace, was connecting my kids with Puff kids, and they formed a friendship and a bond. When Justin went to UCLA, my son went to UCLA. When Christian was rapping, my son was rapping. When he was modeling, they was flying over the world together. So they forged a friendship and a brotherhood that me and Puff always.
Diddy really screwed up, and I'm not referring to his criminal trial, which has him sitting in prison right now, but it has to do with something that happened right before he got arrested. If you've seen the Netflix documentary about Diddy, The Reckoning, which 50 Cent produced, there's some footage there that had never been seen before. This is a photographer that Diddy hired to follow him around and document his life. That footage ended up going to 50 Cent.
And maybe that's what Snoop went through. I don't know. But let the people know, because it was too early back then. You know, Pac just had died.
So this one night, 50 called me up and, you know, they got him on the phone, man. He was just talking. We was talking about old time shit, you know, sit down with Black Hands, sit down with, you know, with Puff kids, the whole Puff situation, and this documentary that he's going to be doing.
Upon the premiere of 50 Cent's Netflix series, Sean Combs, The Reckoning, viewers anticipated a deep dive into Diddy's ascent to dominance, his sway over the music world, and his dramatic collapse amid serious allegations. Yet the buzz swiftly veered elsewhere. Internet chatter rapidly dragged Snoop Dogg into the spotlight, sparked by whispers of his conspicuous quietude, hints of ongoing probes, or some form of shielding since key elements mysteriously stayed out of the film. Certain voices pushed boundaries further, twisting comments from Gene Deal and similar figures into far bolder accusations. Dated clips, ambiguous footage, and hearsay recordings got dusted off and repurposed to bolster mostly conjectural narratives. As usual, digital platforms magnified the chaos, sparking debates among supporters about Snoop's lack of commentary, speculation on what 50 Cent might be privy to, and build up toward another potential bombshell in hip-hop. Strip back the hype, though, and the truth seems considerably tamer. A lot of this frenzy stems from overreach, skewed interpretations, and rehashed tales instead of solid evidence. In this breakdown, we explore the origins of these rumors, Gene Deal's precise statements, the series' actual scope and omissions, Snoop Dogg's reactions.
Audio from Suge Knight. It's from his podcast with Dave Mays, and he's speaking on, you know, Tupac and Snoop being cool and how, you know, after Tupac got killed, Snoop started hanging out with Diddy. And, you know, he also speaks on how, you know, Snoop, he did the Steve Harvey show with Diddy after Tupac got killed. Check this out.
Okay. Let's download right now.
Then you look at the scenario how everybody used Pac to make their stuff famous or make their project better. You got people who use their songs for Pac and tell them how much they love Pac, but they do songs for Puffy. You got Steve Harvey a whole bit that, you know, this motherfucker telling, well, Pac going to everybody else. He brings Snoop and Puffy on there and say, these are dudes who's running this in the East Coast, West Coast.
What's up, Snoop? What's up, Puff? Hey, whoa. Wait a minute, fellas here. Hold on. You know, I know all about this East Coast, West Coast rivalry thing here, but we in Chicago now. This rivalry stuff, we gotta stop it, man. We stop that, we stop a lot of this violence.
Yo, Steve, check this, man. All that East Coast, West Coast stuff is a bunch of media hype. It's been my dog from day one, you know what I'm saying? It's all good between me and him. That's my people.
Real, that's what we came in for. We came in and light it up and ride it up. We never used to have.
Now, Pac, if you love Pac so much, how you with the motherfucker that everybody say got something to do with the first get down that happened to Pac in New York, then the second one.
What you think about Suge comments? And I never asked you this before, but did you have an issue with Snoop hanging out with Diddy after Tupac got killed?
I always felt that was wrong. I'm gonna just keep it real. I'm talking about from that, like now, okay. You know what I mean? I'm 46, Snoop probably early 50s. If he figured out now, he might go by the opinion like, okay, Puffy had nothing to do with Pac. You know, we grown now. If he want to be his friend, no problem. But back then that was just awkward. You know what I mean? And the reason why it was awkward to me that I never even like it because you knew how Pac felt about this individual. You know what I mean? Even if you don't agree with him, you probably could have said, you know what, I probably ain't gonna come out, publicly with this because until things clear up. So I really know I could be certain that, they didn't have nothing to do with Pac. But it's like, it was no, okay, it is what it is. So that I never really respected that back then.
So you had an issue with it. You didn't like it?
Never really liked it. It just was a strange look because you was Pac boy. You know what I mean? Puffy, it's clear they had some issues with Pac. And Pac died and all of a sudden you chilling with Puffy. Back then it just, okay, now you can say what you want. You go all grandfathers, I guess. You know what I mean? That's different now. But back then I think it was weird. It was tasteless. You know what I mean? It didn't seem like you really had that much love for Pac. You could have just, you know what I mean? Unless he pressured them or like questioned Puffy, like, yo, what's up with this? What's up with that? Then you could say, you know what I mean?
Snoop Dogg's name has never surfaced in any official court documents, indictments, or the federal charges that ultimately led to Diddy's imprisonment. Still, his reputation suddenly got tangled in some of the darkest online accusations. This surge mostly stems from his decades-long footprint in hip-hop, where he inevitably rubbed shoulders with Diddy, Suge Knight, and countless other heavyweights during the genre's wildest and most dangerous chapter. After the documentary dropped, Gene Deal Diddy's ex-bodyguard became a go-to voice in interviews, hinting that certain people were breathing easier because some material never made the final edit. That subtle nudge was all it took to ignite massive conjecture across the internet. Channels built on gossip swiftly alleged that 50 Cent deliberately buried footage, omitted names, and suppressed explosive details to avoid triggering an even bigger industry earthquake. Given Snoop's massive visibility and extensive network of connections, he quickly turned into a convenient target. Dusty old clips, rediscovered jailhouse conversations, and unsubstantiated anecdotes were yanked from obscurity, repackaged, and presented as damning proof. Digital storytelling morphed quiet neutrality into suspicion and mere proximity into complicity. Yet when you scrutinize every individual accusation under clear light, none of them point to actual misconduct by Snoop Dogg. They simply highlight that he was a prominent player in the same circles during the same turbulent era as several figures now facing intense legal and public reckoning.
Like I believe somebody mentioned that they seen a video with me and the dude Prodigy or one of the dudes from My Deep, as if I was with. They don't know the backdrop of that. I went to his hotel room ready to fight. Like, bro, I'll fight everybody in that room one-on-one. Even if I lose, it doesn't matter. The Outlaws was with me. My homie Tiny, the Mexican homie, was with me. I didn't go there and say, let me get in a video with these guys. I went there knocking on their door. Doom, doom, doom. Tell them dudes to come out. What's up with y'all? What's up with you and Pac? You got a problem with Pac? Because we could just fight like man to man, face to face, and then shake hands. That was my approach with them. But when they told me they didn't have no problem, I don't mind being with you. You know what I mean? I don't mind shaking your hand because they told me they had love for Pac. So that's different. You know what I mean? If he come out and say, well, I already, I questioned Puffy about it. I believe that he didn't, he loved Pac. That's my opinion. I can move the way I want to move. So when people try to, I noticed somebody, I think on your page do that. Well, Napoleon was in the video with Mobb Deep. They don't know how I got in that video with Mobb Deep. You know what I mean? I pulled up on him but I'm the type of person, I've never been a bully type of person. You know what I mean? If I talk to a person like a man and they tell me face to face, look, I got love for Pac, I'm comfortable to know if I can look in their eyes and if I believe what they said, I have the right to say, okay, no problem. I believe you. You know what I mean? And maybe that's what Snoop went through. I don't know. But let the people know because it was too early back then. Pac just had died. You know what I mean? Like he had the right to say, the reason why I'm rolling with Puffy, I questioned him about my homie. He gave me this answer. So then he did what he had to do. But it just, you know what I mean? I never really agree with that, to be honest. The same way I couldn't be on the stage with him. When they wanted to do that tribute, I just couldn't do it. Like I really felt in my heart, like, man, I can't believe.
This is precisely where the danger creeps in. When mere connections get twisted into hard evidence, conjecture overtakes reality, and stories veer sharply from verifiable truth. In these heated moments, the most vocal commentators frequently prove the least trustworthy. Sean Combs. The Reckoning was never marketed or framed as a blanket takedown of the whole music business. From the outset, it zeroed in exclusively on Diddy chronicling his climb via Bad Boy Records, the networks of influence that propped him up, and the mechanisms that allowed his alleged misconduct to persist for decades. The project spotlights survivor accounts, dissects established patterns of dominance and manipulation, and stays tightly linked to the court proceedings that ended in his guilty verdict and 50-month prison term. Crucially, the series never levels accusations at unrelated personalities without solid backing. Nowhere does it implicate Snoop Dogg in any illegal acts or introduce anything implying misconduct on his end. Assertions that 50 Cent deliberately protected Snoop by burying material are pure guesswork, lacking any concrete support. Curtis Jackson has repeatedly emphasized that the documentary only featured content that was thoroughly vetted, fact-checked, and defensible in a legal context.
I'm going to look at this through the prism of a modern-day rhetorical genius. A modern-day rhetorical genius. We're talking about the one, the great, the 50 Cent. All right. This guy's skill at rhetoric is absolutely next level. And this totally ties in with, how he famously is a big fan of Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Now, rhetoric with a capital R, I can just give you the definition of that. That's basically public speech, particularly public speech that is to persuade. Any persuasive public speech is rhetoric, right? Now, we kind of break that down into two subcategories of rhetoric with a lowercase r and dialectic. Rhetoric is essentially everything else. And really, what moves the needle with like 97% of people and 100% of groups, okay, is, in fact, rhetoric with the lowercase r. So again, stuff like this, 50 Cent is an absolute master of. Basically, he dropped this doc, this 50, this Sean Puffy Combs doc, and it's just kind of set the internet on fire. It's beating out Stranger Things. Like, it's a wild ride to watch, right? And one of the things that he does is he breaks down Diddy's character on Diddy's own terms.
If anything, the series showcased commendable discipline in an era where sensationalism reigned supreme in media. It deliberately steered clear of fingering anyone unless their role was supported by official records or rock-solid accounts that could hold up under intense examination, which is exactly why allegations of hidden footage continue to lack any real backing. No authentic clips have ever emerged to prove otherwise. No legal filings mention Snoop Dogg, and no authorities have flagged him as part of any active probe. On the contrary, Snoop Dogg vocally backed 50 Cent right after the documentary launched, openly siding with Curtis Jackson and displaying zero hints of strain or unease between them. That straightforward dynamic flies in the face of theories portraying Snoop as worried about exposure because bold, public support seldom coincides with dread, evasion, or a desire to lie low.
Because he wanted them to, both Suge and Pac.
In the car?
They only Pac, and they don't Suge. So allegedly, they got paid $500,000. The $500,000 was paid to the guy on the right, all the way to the right. You see the guy on the right, Corey? He's the one allegedly that got the $500,000, and that money never went to Keefe D or anybody else. The guy on the left is the one that stole the chain, the chain, which was a Death Row Records chain. That's a way of saying I got your rapper's chain, because if you were one of the guys, Death Row. So long story short, this whole thing is a recording that he said this. So what does Diddy do? Rob, can you pull up this song? It's a song called Black Rob, featuring Mark Curry and Mario Winans. If you can just type in lyrics, okay? So he gets $1 million. Can you go to the lyrics? And Diddy's in the lyrics when he gets started. Go a little bit lower. Can you type in the word in there, Rob? Nice guy. Type Control F, nice guy. Okay, right there. Look at it. It's 1999. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Been nice too long. I'm just going to start making y'all blank disappear. Man, first I'm going to take your records off the radio. Then I'm going to erase your social security number. Take your birth certificate out flies. I'm going to do your whole effing family. Ain't nothing but mercy. And then, by the way, in the lyrics, he says, I'll drop $1 million on your head to erase you. Can you type in, I'll drop $1 million? Just put Control F. Just go to Google and type this out. I'll drop $1 million on your head. I'll drop $1 million on your head, and just put Diddy next to it. Right there. See, it says Black Rob. What song came up?
Phrase.
I'll drop $1 million on your head. Erase you and your whole family, biatch.
Wow.
He's saying it in the song on what he did to get rid of Tupac.
One of the most persistent rumors traces straight back to Courtney Burgess, a figure who surfaced claiming possession of USB drives supposedly tied to the late Kim Porter drives. He insisted held explosive secrets about various celebrities. As soon as those statements hit the internet, the comment sections and gossip circuits did what they always do. They started plugging in famous names to fill the blanks, and Snoop Dogg's ended up on the list almost immediately, often with zero context or sourcing. What got conveniently ignored in the rush? Kim Porter's own children swiftly and publicly denounced the entire story, insisting that no such authentic diary, recordings, or materials from their mother exist. Law enforcement and investigators have never confirmed the drive's contents, much less validated any of the alleged revelations. Legally and factually, unverified digital files floating around the blogosphere prove exactly nothing. To this day, not a single authenticated document, video frame, or credible leak has emerged that actually names Snoop Dogg in any incriminating way. Yet speculation kept snowballing, vague hints calcified into facts, whispers turned into screaming headlines, and headlines eventually got treated as gospel, all while riding on a foundation of pure air. That's the classic misinformation life cycle in action. Holding on to unconfirmed files or data doesn't constitute proof of any offense. Real legal thresholds demand proper verification, reliable sourcing, and independent confirmation requirements that routinely get tossed aside in heated online debates. Consequently, the persistent chatter insisting Snoop Dogg is somehow cornered or sweating bullets conveniently sidesteps the actual record. As of December 2025, nothing publicly available suggests he's ever been interviewed by authorities, placed under investigation, or tied in any way to ongoing legal proceedings related to these matters. The bottom line remains unchanged. Speculation isn't evidence, and proximity isn't guilt. Until concrete, authenticated facts say otherwise, these narratives stay firmly in the realm of rumor.
For being out there and allowing Misa to come out there to make money, however she was doing it, to feed her family. He vowed down that it's like, yo, I ain't never with her again, and I ain't never with him again. Puff and Suge had a conversation behind the House of Blues about was we all right, and Tupac was alive. Tupac wasn't dead. So if it was a war, Suge ain't having no conversation with Puff about we good. I know he could be doing the Hoboken hustle, trying to fool a brother. But had he killed my man or something like that, I wouldn't have no conversation with Puff. I'd been like, yo, you know what y'all niggas done? You know what happened? And it wasn't no conversation like that, brother. It wasn't no conversation whereas that, you know, Suge made Puff feel like I'm going to get you a payback for what happened to Jake. This was more so that Puff, for whatever reason, Suge, for whatever reason, he was mad at Puff. And Puff, for whatever reason he was mad at Suge, it was between them two. It wasn't no whole East Coast wanted the West Coast dead, and the West Coast wanted East Coast to dead, because they still was going out, still chilling, still at places with each other. It was Bad Boy, and it was Death Row. It was no East Coast and no West Coast.
West Coast dudes were still coming out on the East Coast getting love. East Coast niggas was still going out on the West Coast getting love. It was Bad Boy versus Death Row. And that's what it was, bro. And it was because of the two CEOs. But Suge tried to straighten it out. I got to get at the Suge. The Death Row East Coast, the Death Row East was going to bring in Eric B. It was going to bring in Big D. And those brothers was from the East Coast. So now they was looking for a representative to come to the meeting from Bad Boy so they could straighten out this between Pac and Big and Death Row and Bad Boy. And Puff is the one who refused. Puff is the one to refuse to send a representative or either come himself. And got mad at Zip and them because they were in the Mirage on 57th Street partying with Suge Knight. Got mad at them. And Zip hung up the phone on behind that.
So what you mean by?
Over the years, Suge Knight has repeatedly leveled serious accusations at Snoop Dogg, pointing fingers at alleged disloyalty, direct culpability, and some form of participation in the circumstances leading to Tupac Shakur's tragic 1,996 shooting. These pointed claims tend to bubble up again whenever the hip-hop world faces fresh waves of scrutiny or high-profile developments in old cases. That said, they're far from fresh bombshells. They're recycled grievances rooted in decades-old tensions that have yet to yield any substantiation. The bulk of Knight's statements on this front have come via phone interviews from behind bars, often timed to coincide with buzzy media moments that thrive on shock and controversy. Snoop Dogg, for his part, has steadfastly pushed back against every iteration, brushing them off as fabricated tales fueled by lingering bad blood from their death row days and deep-seated bitterness. Most critically, across numerous probes into Tupac's murder, spanning nearly 3 decades, including the ongoing case against Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, whose trial is now slated for mid-2026, authorities have never named Snoop as a suspect, brought charges against him, or even suggested his involvement in any official capacity.
So, I don't know where you get all the extras from when they had a conversation at the hospital and all that. That's absolutely not true. Say less, if you know what I mean. But instead of just saying less, since I've been in here, Snoop and other people been having people trying to bail the guy out, Keefy D, because he talking too much. Raising them trying to do stuff for Puffy because they say he's talking too much. They even had somebody talk to me and say, hey, you can help him get free. I said, look, I don't have nothing to do with none of that, and I'm not leaving prison to go to Nobody County Jail. To the point they were saying, well, you can't leave and sacrifice a little bit in the county jail to stop that black man from getting life? Hell no. I ain't wishing bad on him at all, because I don't want to see nobody go to prison. And like I told you last time, as I find out more details about certain things, I probably would go to the Vegas County Jail if me and Keefy D with Sellies. We have a good conversation after I give him, 6 upside his head, another 6 in his body, and another 2. But yeah, that's different. It didn't happen with Snoop didn't go to the hospital. That's a lie.
Internet echo chambers frequently mistake endless repetition for ironclad validation. The more a dubious story gets recycled, the more it starts to feel legitimate, even when zero fresh evidence ever materializes. This cognitive shortcut packs a serious punch, and plenty of creators exploit it deliberately, churning out content that thrives on volume over verification, while inconvenient context gets buried or skipped entirely. The fallout between Suge Knight and Snoop Dogg exploded publicly over 2 decades ago, fueled by by exhaustively covered corporate clashes, deep personal betrayals, and a string of very public beefs that played out in real time. That toxic backstory alone should prompt skepticism toward any accusation, night levels that traces back to those turbulent years, rather than serving as an automatic green light for belief. Rehashing the same old grievances in 2026 doesn't magically lend them weight or truth. It just cranks up the volume on long-standing static, drowning out nuance in a flood of recycled drama.
Just got out the gym, doing my workout box. Shit, you right. History would repeat itself. Nigga, you wasn't the only nigga in the room, nigga. You wasn't by yourself. There was other people in the room too. I'm not gonna say no names because, like you said, we don't talk. So why you on here talking? Let that go, man. And as far as Snoop and Corrupt writing my album, you ask them niggas that. Them niggas ain't wrote my album. Corrupt helped me with Do You See? Snoop helped me with This DJ. Other than that, everything else I wrote. So that's where you wrong at again. And as far as the tough guy, do you recall when we was at the World Club and it said Death Row and NWA? Who fired on that? Me. When you was at the Comedy Store, fighting that little buff ass at the Comedy Store, who saved your motherfucking ass? Me and C-Style. So what have I done to you? For you to launch out at me? Look, don't get mad at me, man. I ain't never done nothing to you. I wasn't signed to you. So
Digital stories frequently blur the line between endless looping and actual validation, bombarding people with the same shaky assertions until they start ringing true, even without a shred of backing. This mental trap holds real sway, and countless creators exploit it on purpose, sidelining essential backstory in the process. The bond between Suge Knight and Snoop Dogg shattered ages ago, torn apart by extensively chronicled corporate clashes, intimate grudges, and very open rivalries. That messy past alone demands scrutiny for any finger-pointing tied to those times, urging doubt over blind faith. Echoing those same gripes in the present era adds zero legitimacy. It merely ramps up the echo, stirring more distraction than insight.
In a documentary, there's a couple things I'll share with you guys on what I took away from it. But Rob, maybe share the clip on how he got access to some of the footage of the documentary. Is this the one, Rob?
Yep.
Go for it.
How did you get that footage of Diddy?
I figure most journalists would not disclose their sources.
Does he know y'all have this in the doc?
I would doubt he knows.
So when this airs, that'll be the first time that his legal team, Diddy, that everybody knows that this footage is now seeing the light of day.
Perhaps. Combs' team firing back in a statement to NBC News, saying the Netflix so-called documentary is a shameful hit piece and that they relied on stolen footage that was never authorized for release. His team sending a cease and desist to Netflix.
So that doesn't mean it's not true. Of course. But they relied on stolen footage, okay, is what they relied on. And then they ask about the history of 50 and him, issue that they've had. What's the one you just pulled up, Rob?
This is where they talk about the feud, and then I also have 50 Cent talking about Diddy's reaction to the documentary.
Yeah, that's so funny. That is so funny. But watch this one here. Go ahead, Rob.
How do you respond to people who say that it's more about the disdain that you have for Sean Combs than it is for giving the victims a platform?
What they consider a pre-existing beef, right, for 20 years, right, is me being uncomfortable with him suggesting that he takes me shopping, or I looked at it like it was like a tester, like maybe you'll come play with me type of thing, right? And it's not personal.
I think it's important to also let people know that the show is not completely the perspectives of people that did not like Sean. We weren't trying to just get the highlights, the salacious details, that the real goal was to storytell. And not everyone needed to have an allegation to be a part of this project.
Yeah. I mean, so that's that part, right? The fact that the feud with the two of them, hey, let me take you shopping. Like you say that to a girl in 50, like, what are you talking about? Take me shopping. How do you have a flipping mind? You want to take me shopping? And then last but not least, Rob, the other clip you have of 50 is talking about how he thinks Diddy's going to like this documentary. Go ahead, Rob.
Sean Combs watches this, what do you think he's going to feel?
Like, wow, this is amazing. I think he's going to say this is the best documentary I've seen in a long time.
She can't even hold it.
Because you'll see people saying that. I mean, he may feel a different way about pieces and bits of it, but he knows the truth. I think he'll see.
A widespread internet rumor claimed that Snoop Dogg vanished from the spotlight or clammed up right after the documentary hit screens, but a quick reality check proves that story falls apart fast. He kept dropping posts like clockwork, sharing thoughts on tracks, ventures, and even throwing clear backing behind 50 Cent. The illusion of him going ghost stemmed purely from cherry-picking folks hyper-focused on the absence of direct commentary on the Diddy saga while brushing aside everything else that didn't fuel the conspiracy angle. Snoop never dropped any panicked remarks, deactivated profiles, or stepped back from the limelight. On the contrary, he stayed fully engaged, pushing forward with his projects, including steering the ship at Death Row Records. At the end of the day, there was zero withdrawal or hush mode, just a smart choice to sidestep baseless gossip and keep the focus on what matters. The key divide between Snoop Dogg and Diddy in the current landscape boils down to one thing: hard evidence, not fame or fan base. Diddy's downfall stemmed from exhaustive federal probes, survivor accounts, and courtroom rulings that culminated in his conviction, earning him a 50-month federal prison sentence on prostitution-related charges under the Mann Act. Snoop Dogg, on the other hand, has only been swept into the chatter via loose ties to the era and outright conjecture. Heading into early 2026 with the latest checks as of December 2025, no federal indictments, charges, or ongoing cases tie him to any of these matters. That gap is crucial. At a time when the music world is finally confronting powerful abusers and holding them accountable, silence from prosecutors doesn't signal some secret shield, it signals an absence of substantiation. The spotlight on hip-hop's dark corners is long overdue, but dragging in every name from the past without proof doesn't uncover justice. It muddies the waters and undermines the real cases built on facts. Clear lines between verified truth and viral speculation protect the credibility of genuine reckonings, especially in an era where true accountability is finally gaining traction in the industry. At this moment, Snoop Dogg finds himself trapped in one of the web's most predictable cycles. Ambiguity morphs into outright blame, ancient beefs get repackaged as smoking guns, and unchecked guesses stoke widespread paranoia. Yet once you peel off the sensational thumbnails, viral outrage clips, and click-chasing titles, what's left is straightforward and stark. No authenticated videos have surfaced, no indictments exist, no sudden vanishing act occurred. This saga isn't truly about Snoop scrambling in fear. It's a textbook example of how swiftly stories crystallize whenever a titan like Diddy crashes down, pulling anyone in the historical orbit into the suspicion zone purely through proximity. As the ripples from the Diddy convictions keep spreading and fresh details trickle out, the deeper issue isn't which name the online mob chases next. It's whether solid, verifiable facts will ever outshout the rumor mill. Will evidence finally get the loudest mic, or will knee-jerk presumptions keep pronouncing verdicts long before proof even shows up? Drop your take in the comments, hit that subscribe button for clearer breakdowns as things develop, and above all, stay sharp, stay skeptical, and stay rooted in what's actually real.